Good evening, folks. Um, yeah, it's been a pretty hectic week, but I thought I might try to get a short stream in, maybe wrap up this case tonight at least. So hopefully that will happen, but I guess we'll see. Um, so I believe where we left off, I think we'd kind of figured out the gist of the what was going on with Lemaror, and now I think we're going to be talking to the partner in Gavin's band. What was his name? Darien Crescent, yeah. Apollo, I can't believe it. It really happened during the second act. And right in the middle of Lamaror's performance. The reason why she was in that air vent. And that switch and the flaming guitar. When you link it all together, that's what you end up with. I knew you had what it took. Hey, Phoenix. Daddy. Mr. Wright. You believed in me. Not really. Huh? I just thought that'd make a cooler entrance than say, hiya. Why do I even bother hoping? Where have you been lately, Daddy? You haven't been coming to the office at all. Ah, sorry about that, Trucy. I'm on a secret mission. Secret? You mean like you're undercover? Like Mr. Latouche, only shorter and not as well dressed. Oh no, what if you're shot too, Daddy? Would I do a thing like that to you? Anyway, I'm off for a while again. Huh? You're leaving? Oh, one thing before I go. What? Good luck. Right. Is that all you came to say? I think you have things pretty much under control. You'll get Machi Tabaye off the hook, no doubt. Yeah, but you're after that detective, aren't you? Darien Crescent. It won't be easy proving you did it, especially not under the current court system. The current court system? What did Prosecutor Gavin say during the trial? Your case is based on one fragile assumption, namely that our diva divine is telling the truth. What about all the proof? The brooch and the switch? A piece of jewelry and a lyrical blunder. There are plenty of other ways to explain these things. The flaming guitar, too. All because you lack definitive proof of their connection to the case. But if the sultry songstress is lying, your case melts like butter in a frying pan, leaving behind the faintly singed scent of failure. So what do I do? Like I said, good luck. And be aware that it will be impossible to prove his guilt by conventional methods. Ugh. Oh, that reminds me. I have something to give you from our detective friend. Detective Scott Emma? Let's see, this bag of snacks here was meant for me. Ah, here it is. What are those, Daddy? They don't look like very good snacking material. They were found at the scene. Analysis of the fragments revealed traces of gunpowder. Probably a firecracker or something similar like the ones kids are into these days. Under the sofa at the scene of the crime, actually. Huh. Hey, Apollo, that's where we found that little device thingy. Oh. Huh. Some evidence that makes sense. That's all for me, I suppose. See you after the verdict. Maybe. Right. Every man has an igniter inside him. Excuse me? Find Darien Crescent's igniter and set it off. And he walked out the door just like a magician. Normally. What does he want us to do? No conventional methods? What does that mean? Guess we just have to take his advice and hope it makes sense when the time comes. I guess. We're almost at the finish line. Hang in there, Trucy. Oh boy. This should be interesting. Court is now back in session. Prosecutor Gaffin, where is Detective Crescent? In the witness lounge, ready to be called at any time. Very well. Might I add, I don't believe any of this. Darian was the first detective I ever worked with. We stopped working together when he moved to Criminal Affairs Division 3, but his guitar playing fires my imagination. That's nice, but has nothing to do with the matter at hand. Correct? Oh, I know. Hair forehead. Very well. Call the final witness to the stand. Detective Darian Crescent. Name and occupation, please. Darian Crescent, Detective, Criminal Affairs, Division 3. That's the International Affairs Division, for those of you who didn't know. And I'm a guitarist for the Gaviners. Maybe you've heard of us. Do you fully understand the circumstances under which you stand before us today? Yeah, I understand, Your Honor. What I don't understand is how you let this happen, partner. You gave me your word I wouldn't be standing here. Situation's changed, Darian. And don't call me partner. Feh, so much for old friends. I see what you're doing, Darian. You're pressing the prosecution. Your Honor, if we could begin the trial. Yes, it's high time we did. Let's hear your testimony. And begin with your response to Lamoureux's testimony, if in fact you have anything to say about it. Well, I got plenty to say. Lying must be a national pastime in Virginia. And wherever you're from, Mr. Justice. Ha! Conventional methods are out the window, huh? Here goes nothing. Diva's lying, plain and simple. She's got nothing to back up her story. In the first place, she never heard my voice. She forgot the words because she heard gunshots? As if. Didn't Detective Emma Skye hear those gunshots during the third set anyway? The shooting took place when I was on stage, man. Well, I have an idea. Hey, don't be wrong, I dig what she's doing, trying to protect that kid. And she's got the court eating vague statements out of her hand just because she's blind. You go too far, Darian. Look, all I'm saying is, you've got a reliable witness. Why not listen to the detective? Detective Skye? I see. Mr. Justice, you may begin the cross-examination. I think I will listen to Detective Skye, considering she just sent us a piece of evidence that might be useful here. I'll have to find some other way to prove when the shooting took place. You don't have any proof she was lying. Oh yeah, kid? You saying I lied? No, I'm just saying, Apollo, glare back at him. I couldn't help it, I flinched by reflex. Detective Crescent. Yeah, what do you want? Nothing. Apollo, chin up, back straight, you're wilting. This guy's hard as nails. He makes Walkie look downright cooperative. Look, there's no way the diva remembers my voice. In first place, you never heard of me. You never talked to her, even though you were playing in the same concert? Not a word, as far as I can recall. But weren't there planning sessions or something? Kevin took care of all that himself. Darian wasn't involved in any of the meetings with her. Ugh. As if you can just go around remembering everyone's voice like that anyway. Only an idiot would believe that. Nora's hearing is very sensitive. She could remember him if she heard him, I'm sure of it. I just can't prove it. I need proof. She forgot the words because she heard gunshots? As if. You know she missed the words. The mixing board proved it. Oh, yeah, there was a mistake, but blaming on gunshots is just a lame excuse. What do you mean? The mixing board proves what? It proves there was a mistake in the song, a missed cue. So, she just flubbed it up big time, that's all. She spins this story about a gunshot to protect the kid and cover for her own goof. Man, I'd have to hand it to her if she wasn't sticking it to me at the same time. Darian, watch what you say. Lamoureux is an artist. She just flubbed it up? That's no small accusation for a performer of her caliber. Heh, she got to you alright. I can see it in your eyes. I tell you, most of her stuff is so pretentious it's way over my head. You're detecting a rift in the Gaviner's ranks. Anyway, she's too close to the defendant. Her testimony can't be trusted. You ask me, I'd go with Detective Sky's story at the drop of a pig. Didn't Detective Emma Sky hear those gunshots during the third set anyway? Actually, I was there too. So I hear. Which means you heard them too, right? The gunshots. Yes, we heard gunshots. Neither I nor Emma actually saw the shooting, mind you. Heh. I guess you and Lamarorch got the same excuse then. You know one thing for certain here. There were gunshot-like sounds that emanated from that room during the third set. Cough. What we must determine is whether those sounds were actually gunshots. Machi heard them too. Remember, he said he ran for the air duct when he heard them. So, how do we figure out just what those gunshots during the third set were? It could have been what the shooter wanted us to think. I'll tell you what the shooter, that kid, wants you to think. He wants you to think the diva heard me in that room. Back to relying on Lamaror's testimony. As much as I'm enjoying the Darien and Forehead show, there's no need for such tempers. Don't make us into some comedy duo. Does mean the Gavin and Darien show is cancelled? Neither of your claims can be proven, or disproved. We could argue for days like this and get nowhere. Prosecutor Gavin is quite right. This court will hear no further discussion on this topic without new facts. New facts, huh? He's pretty eager to paint Lamaror as a liar, isn't he? Yeah, because her testimony is basically our entire case. This is tough, so what do we do? Got a few ideas. I just need to find another way to prove it didn't happen when he says it did. Well, I guess we start with this. Some things were found at the crime scene after yesterday's trial. What things? The first was this small device. That's the remote-triggered igniter. Correct. And one more thing. What are those? The remains of something burnt? Not another guitar, I hope. Traces of gunpowder were found on these fragments. We have a report that it was something like a firecracker. Eh? How did Gavin know about this? What, you think Detective Sky works for you? I received the report this morning before coming here. That's when I made my decision, actually. Gavin continues to be one step ahead of us. What decision is this, Prosecutor Gavin? I registered Darien as a witness in today's trial, just in case. This raises another possibility. Those gunshot-like sounds during the third set could have been two firecrackers rigged to go off by remote control. Haha, you got an active imagination, don't you? But you shouldn't say every little thing you think. Your explanation there seems a bit too convenient to me. How so? So you're saying these firecrackers just happened to go off right when two witnesses came walking by? Ha! That's right. Darien was out on stage when it happened, Apollo. How would he know someone was backstage right then? The firecracker goes off in the forest and there's no one there to hear. You get my drift. Why go through the trouble, man? Oh. And there's no one there to hear. How would he know someone was backstage? May not look it, but Darien is a gifted detective. Show any weakness, and he's sure to find it. You may not look it, partner? Gee, thanks, man. That reminds me. I happened to pass through that very hallway several times that day myself. And I saw something odd there just before the third set. Something odd? Yeah, I was actually figuring I was going to have to resent this, but it sounds like Gavin continues to be a step ahead of me. He is wearing a shark hoodie, or something along those lines. Also, hey. I don't know, it's some kind of weird shark-like costume. That's right, we picked this up in front of the door to that dressing room. What if that headset wasn't dropped, but placed, and what if it was turned on? You could hear what was going on in that hallway, even if you were out on stage. Feh. Which side are you on, Gavin? Listen to me, Darien. There are no sides in a court of law. Which is why I now turn to you, Hair Forehead. I have a question for you. Huh? For me? The igniter and the burnt fragments that were found at the scene of the crime. It's certainly a possibility that they were part of a ruse to fake the sound of gunshots. Throw the headset from the hallway into the mix and you could fabricate an alibi. But we're still no closer to proving anything. Those gunshots might have been real or fake, we can't say. You've raised the possibility that the shots heard during the third set were faked. Now you need to prove the other half of the case. The other half? Look, I'll just tell him. He wants you to prove the thing went down in the second act while our little piano player was on stage. That right, Gavin? Indeed. If you can't prove that, then to continue this cross-examination would be pointless. Well, Mr. Justice, can you prove the crime took place during the second set? Yeah, I think. Better know, Apollo, otherwise we're through. It can be proven. You make it sound like someone else is going to come along and do it for you. Let's continue with the cross-examination then, shall we? Witness, your testimony, if you would. This isn't going to be easy. I need some decisive proof and fast. You ready, kid? 'Cause I am. The shooting took place during the second set. If you're so sure, let's see your proof. The gunshots heard during the third set could have been... what, some kind of setup? I've heard that one before. We need proof, Apollo. We need to prove that the shooting took place during the second set. Well, if you know how to do that, I'm all ears. The gunshots are the key after all. What do you mean? Well, Lammermoor said she heard them, right? Right in the middle of her illusion, when she was up above the ceiling. When she forgot the words to the song, yeah. If you can prove the gun was shot right when she missed those lyrics, we're home free, I think. True. Not easy, but true. Is there some way to prove that? Let's take a look through our evidence. Maybe there's something in there. Hey, aren't you supposed to be cross-examining me? Oh, yeah, thanks. Hope you... yeah, you too. I'm just hopefully wrapping up this case pretty soon here, but I guess we'll see what happens. So, yeah, take care. Refrain from private discussions during cross-examination, Mr. Justice. Right, Your Honor. Sorry. Just let me take a quick look at the court record. Eager to paint Lammermoor as a liar, isn't he? Yeah, because her testimony is basically our entire case. This is tough, so what do we do? Got a few ideas. I just need to find another way to prove it didn't happen when he says it did. The guitar isn't really proof. One thing I can think of. So the shot happened. And supposedly, if it happened, I mean, I think this is a good theory as to it not being during the third set. Because, okay, so the shots went off, we immediately went into the room. That means, like, in the, like, seconds between us hearing the shots and us breaking into the room, he would have had to write out his entire number, and then the person who killed him would have also had to have smudged it up. And I don't think there's enough time for that. But this isn't it. The other option is it wouldn't make sense for the... So I guess the alternative, if it took place during the third set, is if the firecrackers didn't go off in the third set, then they must have gone off in the second set. But if they went off in the second set, I mean, somebody would have been like, oh, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why are there explosions happening in the dressing room? And, like, you know, security would have been alerted. Objection! And that's not it. Could we possibly hear it on the mixing board? There's clear proof left behind. Right here in Lemorore's song. Her song? What exactly is this device thingy? I mean, in theory, shouldn't the song have also picked up the shots? Because she was singing, right? So if it was loud enough to pick up her voice, why didn't it pick up the gunshots? But I don't remember hearing the gunshots in the song. Come on, we just used this, and don't restart a gramophone. This device was used to record the performance part by part. You move the sliders to adjust the volume. Each instrument is adjustable separately, Lemorore's voice included. Oh, but what does this prove? According to Lemorore's testimony, at the moment of the shooting, she forgot the words to the song. Ah, you intend to examine the recording at that moment, yeah? You might even hear those gunshots. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Ridiculous. Oh, he's sweating. How are you supposed to hear gunshots back in that dressing room out on stage? Have you forgotten, Darian? We were all wearing these headsets. Oh. We were all deeply involved in our performance, but Lammermoor's headset would have picked up what she heard all the same. Let's get to analyzing that recording. Right now. Alright. Find that spot and I'll find the gunshots. Well, sounds like a gunshot. It's a bit of a problem though, because shouldn't there have been two? What? This has to be some kind of mistake. Oh, he's getting nervous. The case has been made. Gunshots were heard during the second set, which means Lammermoor's testimony was true. Grah. So she was telling the truth about what she heard. It was the other man speaking, not Mr. Latouche. Well, what did he say? It's over. Press the switch, now. Just after that, there was a gunshot, and then the guitar caught on fire. Detective Crescent, you weren't on stage during the second set. You could have done it. But why did we only hear one gunshot? Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. Lammermoor was moving through the air vent, Your Honor. She must not have been close enough for her mic to catch the first shot. But then, as she passed over the dressing room, gun fired again, and Mr. Latouche's life was taken. Well, Detective Crescent, once again I'm reminded of something. Performance that day. Your performance? Seeing the mixing board jogged my memory. You were there too, Hair Forehead. Right. What is it with today? Problem after problem, Octon. My hog won't start. My guitar case is busted. My guitar's been burnt to a crisp, and to top it all off, someone's dead. And then there was that performance just now. What was that all about? This part is off. Which is that? Second guitar. Ah. It was you, Darian. I thought it strange at the time. How could you miss such a simple cue? I know you. I know how you play. You're better than that. Yeah, well, You what? And Prosecutor Gavin, what are you getting at? I'm talking about the murder weapon, Mr. Latouche's .45 caliber hand cannon. As we have learned, even a shooter doesn't go unscarred with a revolver that size. The kickback is enough to dislocate your shoulder if you're an amateur. Wait, you mean his playing was effective because he hurt himself shooting that revolver? Ha, you're forgetting something. Yes, Detective Crescent? I am a trained police officer, you know. I've had firearms training, plenty of it. I'm no amateur. Standard sidearm issued to police officers is a .38 caliber weapon. A much tamer beast. Also, the murder weapon belonged to the victim, Mr. Latouche. Would suggest there was a struggle between killer and victim. So, the killer might not have been holding the revolver correctly when he fired. Is that what you mean? The thought had occurred to me, yes. It's not looking good for him. Well, does the witness have anything to say to this? Detective Crescent, what I want to ask is what Mr. Sleeves Rolled Up Ready for Action has to say. Hey you, attorney. Me? Exactly which piece of your evidence is decisive again? You got a little noise on the tape that could be anything. And you have an alleged guitar cue missed due to a .45 caliber kickback. I weep for this case, Gavin, I really do. You can line up your little weak pieces of evidence all you want. I didn't shoot that manager, and that's the obvious truth. The witness has a point. The defense's arguments, while persuasive, are not decisive. I believe we should hear what the witness has to say in response to the case so far. Your testimony, please, Detective Crescent. Tell us your reasons why you couldn't have done it. Come on, why would I even want to kill that manager? You want a reason? Easy. I got no motive, man. This was that diva's first trip to this country, right? How could I possibly know her manager? If I didn't know him, why would I want to kill him? A simple reason indeed. Prosecutor Gavin, is the case that Mr. Latouche had not been to our country before. According to our records, yes, not even once. I see. Very well. Mr. Justice, you may begin the cross-examination. Great, now I need to find a motive. Manager, sure, but Mr. Latouche was... Oh right, sorry, an Interpol agent, wasn't he? I just have trouble picturing that big lunk as an undercover cop, you dig? And not a very good one, seeing as how he got wasted. That's cold. Apollo, really? Not that it matters either way. See, I had no reason to kill the man, whatever he was. That's the same for Machi. No motive was proven for him. Come on, he traveled around the world with that old fart. Had plenty of time to come up with a motive of his own. More than I sure did. I mean, think about it. You're a detective with international affairs? Yeah, what of it? Even if this is Mr. Latouche's first trip to this country, you still could have met him prior to the concert. Huh? Or don't you take any international trips in international affairs? That's right. Well, Detective Crescent? That's your game, is it? Guess I'd better confess then. Confess? Yeah, it's a bit of an embarrassment. I've never been sent overseas. What? But you're an international... See, me and Plain's got a difference of opinion. We don't like each other much. My condolences, Herr Forehead, but he's telling the truth. He's never set foot outside the country, I can guarantee it. As it turns out, my division has plenty of work to do locally as well. That's so unfair. So you didn't fraternize with him at all during the concert? Fraternize? Ha, I don't think we exchanged a single word. As if anyone would want to talk to that old Eastern blockhead. Now the ladies, that's a different matter altogether. So you see... I didn't know him, why would I want to kill him? You sure about that? What? Wipe that look off your face before I do it for you. Listen, you try throwing out one of your wild accusations. I'll throw it back at you so hard you'll forget who you're accusing of what. Your forehead, perhaps it's best if you let your evidence do the talking, yeah? Man, what evidence? That's what I want to know. So he's using this motive question as ammunition, huh? Well, I've got ammunition too. Evidence. Wanted his gun. No, that's not it. I mean, this is a possibility. "20 seconds tops. I'm glad she's on my side. So the keys are a possibility, because if Darian also took Gavin's keys and That's not a motive to kill him, though. Maybe this?
Objection!
Yeah, okay. Your Honor, take a look at this. What's that? Looks like candy. Or it's not. Don't lick it, please. Detective Crescent, ever seen this? Looks like a piece of candy. His eyes went back and forth a little bit. What it is evidence. Don't lick it before you try it. Specifically, this is a replica of a cocoon. It was found among the victim's belongings. Cocoon, never seen one that color. Variety only found in the Republic of Virginia. Nowhere else. Alright, but what is this cocoon replica doing in my courtroom? Surely this has nothing to do with the motive for killing Mr. Latouche, does it? It does. Wait, I think it does. You don't sound so confident, man. Cocoon. Is it one of those silky cocoons? The kind that you can make, well, silk out of? Not this one. This cocoon makes a powerful curative. Curative? For what? Apparently it is most efficacious at treating a disease thought incurable. It's the only medicine of its kind. However, it is illegal to take one of these healing cocoons out of Virginia. Whatever for? If it's such a miracle cure, why not share it with the world? Yeah, that's what I've been wondering. I looked into the matter at some length. Apparently it isn't difficult at all to manufacture the remedy from the cocoon. Yet, if you change the process only slightly, you can easily make a large quantity of something else entirely. A deadly poison, in fact. What? There was an incident several years ago where some of these got out onto the black market. It caused quite the commotion in the global community, though the media was kept largely unaware. Intriguing. All this has led to a strict ban on the cocoon's export, one rigidly enforced by Interpol, among others. Interpol? Right. The victim, Romain Latouche, was an Interpol agent. Detective Crescent, you insist on referring to him as a manager. But that is misleading. Romain Latouche wasn't killed as a manager, he was killed as an undercover agent. So I was trying to smuggle this gumball in the country? Is that what you're trying to say? Saying that could well be a motive for murder. Oh, so I was going to sell it in the black market and make myself a pretty penny? Ridiculous. Totally unthinkable. Unthinkable, you say? Why? Perhaps it's time for another testimony about this smuggling of cocoons business. International Affairs got a memo about these cocoons. Interpol's all hot and bothered about them. Can't sell them on the black market. Too dangerous. Yeah, cocoon smuggling ain't exactly lucrative anymore. Man, I'm in International Affairs. I know the deal. But one of these cocoons bad enough to send Mr. Latouche undercover. Kids think of the craziest things. But no way am I going to risk life and limb just to get my hands on some dirty cocoon money. Not the most noble of statements, but duly noted. According to reports, these cocoons top Interpol's list. Selling them to an underground organization would be risky. Very well, you may begin the cross-examination. This is the only motive I've got. He was up to something, and I'm going to find out what. I'm gonna have to press him some more, I think.
Hold it!
That memo, that's how you knew about the cocoons. Oh, nice one, nice one. I'm running scared now. You had to know about the cocoons to plan this. Just how well known are these cocoons? I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I'd never heard of them. Little Emeror knew about them, though not their use. My reports indicate that there are ongoing efforts to control information about the cocoons. Most people only know they're illegal to export, that's all. Then, I have nothing to be embarrassed about after all. You could say people like me who know about them are a minority, yeah. But that includes everyone in International Affairs, man. And everyone in Interpol, too, for that matter. Yeah.
Hold it!
So there are other Interpol agents like Mr. Latouche. All over the world, likely. Deep undercover, most of them. That's why these cocoons are too hot for the black market. You don't want Interpol sniffing through your wares. Most came to the conclusion that... Right.
Hold it!
Dangerous. Yeah, Interpol finds you, they arrest you on the spot, or another marketeer might think you're part of a sting and take you out himself. Times have changed. Smuggling ain't exactly lucrative. But wouldn't scarcity drive up prices? Yeah, and attention. Every gangster and his brother would want a piece of that action. They'd turn your forehead into Swiss cheese before you say objection. Maybe we could get them to cut his hair, too. Who's on trial here again? Man, you so obviously know nothing about the market. And that's a bad thing? Don't even try to mess with me about this stuff. International affairs. Which is why you know how to find a loophole in the system. Hey, you can say what you want about me, but back off of international affairs. There ain't no loopholes, okay? What do you think we are, Boy Scouts? Isn't what I was trying to... down, Dargan. It's as you say. There are no loopholes, at least in the case of these cocoons. International affairs, Interpol, and Borginian customs are all watching. See, we know what we're doing. Not like some yipping little doggies that laugh at every word that diva says. Why, I oughta... Oughta what? You want some of this? Chill, both of you. Let's do this cool, yeah? Screw cool. I want this guy's head on a stick. The replica has to be the key to his motive. There's got to be a way to find out what he was up to. You know, we've had this newspaper article here. What if the idea wasn't to sell it, but to actually use it?
Objection!
I think I'm right. I'd choose a less dangerous buyer then. I would. How clueless are you? Everyone in the market's dangerous. The second they found out I was a cop, I could kiss my keister goodbye. Why sell it to a black market buyer? How about someone like this? That article, that's about the Chief Justice's. A deadly poison can be extracted from the cocoon, but so can a cure. And not a cure for just any disease. A cure for incuritis. Still a ridiculous name. I've heard of that somewhere. He went to visit a victim of the disease this morning. That's the disease the Chief Justice's son has. You aren't saying. Our witness is a detective. He would have contact with the Chief Justice. You are saying the Chief Justice would never deal in contraband. Not even to save his own son's life? But even if the deal went through, why, it'd be an international scandal. That's Detective Crescent's insurance. If word ever got out, the one with his neck on the line would be the Chief Justice. Detective Crescent, is this true? First I'm a murderer, now I'm a smuggler? How many crimes are you trying to pin on me anyway? Distasteful it is to think about, if the Chief Justice were the buyer, why a seller couldn't hope for a better deal. A very cowardly seller. Don't let sleeves over there trick you. So I made a deal with the Chief Justice. Where's your proof? Well, oh yeah, and you're forgetting one other important thing. Do tell. Interpol isn't the only ones out there watching this. Virginian Customs barely sleeps, they're so worried about cocoons getting out. So we were informed. Let's continue with the cross-examination. How strict is this customs check? Way strict. They keep planes on the ground for hours. I recall it being a bit extreme. They were even confiscating gumdrops and marshmallows. Yes, it would be hard to distinguish them. That's right, Gavin was in Borginia, wasn't he? remember setting off the metal detector several times. I had to practically strip naked to walk through. Here's a travel tip for you, Gavin. Leave the bling at home.
Hold it!
That's pretty extreme. Virginia has this rep as an idyllic, laid-back place. Truth is, they're beyond hardcore with security. Public of Virginia is a peaceful, pleasant country. So this level of security shows us how truly concerned they are about these cocoons. That's the situation. If there's no way to get cocoons out of there, I'd sure like to know. You're in a position to know quite a bit about smuggling. Yeah, I need to know a bit for work, sure. But we get our reports on the failed smuggling ops. Not exactly something you want to go copying. But if you want, I can tell you a few of them. Maybe you'll succeed and get rich. I'd be interested in hearing, purely from a legal perspective, of course. But we for a judicial system. He hid them in his hair. No. The thing I can think of is this thing.
Objection!
And it turns out that was it. What? One way to get something out of the country. No checks. What is it? You become a prosecutor. Prosecutor? I don't believe it. Believe it, Prosecutor Gavin. What was it that you told me yesterday at your office? It's a beautiful instrument. It's played lovingly for many years. A guitar befitting a woman like Lammeror. How did it end up here? I mentioned how much I enjoyed playing it that night, and she made a present of it. So this guitar is from Virginia? That it is. We couldn't carry it on the plane. Changes in air pressure and humidity ruined the wood. So we vacuum packed it in Lammeror's studio. There's a special shipping service available to me for transporting evidence. Ooh. Maybe he shouldn't have done that. They brought it right up to my office for me. Pristine and untouched. Did I get that right, Prosecutor Gavin? Untouched? Quite. The guitar was wrapped in several sheets and vacuum packed in Virginia. The pack was untouched until the day of the concert. You're saying that guitar was... with cocoons this small would have been very easy. To use your guitar as a mule to smuggle a cocoon out of Virginia. Which reminds me, Prosecutor Gavin, that guitar had some work done on it recently, right? Work? Good memory, Hair Forehead. You know how guitars have a round hole in the front. It's called a sound hole. Well, they found something attached to the wood just inside the hole. A broken device of some sort. Broken device? Yes, this in fact. Igniter. Exactly. Consider this, if you will. What if that igniter wasn't the only thing that was attached inside to your guitar? You mean... He means this, of course. There was a way to get a cocoon out of the country. They could use picky Prosecutor Gavin's privileged guitar as a mule. And who better to do that than someone with access? Like a member of the band. Yark. Uh-oh. He's putting it together. It's an igniter. It was placed in there for a clear reason, it seems. It was a safety precaution. Ah, her forehead. At last it all comes together. Every strange thing that happened that day. Care to review? Maestro, the gentle sounds of Lammeror's ballad, if you please. First, my keys were stolen, a harmless misdemeanor. which forced me to break the lock on my guitar case. The key was stolen to retrieve the cocoon from the guitar. I see, but things didn't go so well. The smuggler wasn't counting on the guitar being wrapped. Only a member of the band could get near that case. Unwrapping the guitar would raise too many suspicions. Then the concert began. Right about this time, a very large problem presented itself to the smuggler. What's that? Mr. Latouche. Ah, Mr. Latouche, an undercover agent, was onto something. He would have known about the guitar. He'd only have to check the shipping records. So, Mr. Latouche tried to examine the guitar himself. If the cocoon were confiscated then, the gig would be up. The only thing left for the smuggler to do was get rid of the whole lot. It's over. Press the switch, now. The guitar burst into flames, and the cocoon was lost. And then Mr. Latouche died, with Lamoureux there to witness it. There's your case. Brilliant, man. Detective Crescent? I gotta know, you make all that up on the fly? For a made-up story. It makes a great deal of sense, Darian. Feh, the Republic of Virginia? Sorry, man, but I haven't even been there. True, you haven't. Ha, let's see you make up a story for that, kid. How'd I hide the cocoon in the first place, huh? It's not so hard to imagine. You had help. A Borginian accomplice. That's all. That you had an accomplice was clear from the start. The voice Lamoureux heard proves it. It's over. Press the switch. Now. You made this transmission from backstage, while your co-conspirator was on stage. But who was it? This is it, the coup de grace. And for once I know what I'm doing. There's only one person who could have helped him. That's what Mr. Justice has to say then. But be warned, with a great accusation comes great responsibility. Make up your answer on the fly, as it were, and you'll be harshly penalized. Are you ready, Mr. Justice? Who was the smuggler's accomplice? Well, there were only 3 people on stage, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't Gavin. I'm pretty sure it wasn't Lamoureux, because she would have been busy running around. And we found the switch in the piano. So, unfortunately, there's only one person who meets all the requirements of the accomplice. And that person is the defendant, Machi Tabaye. But, Mr. Justice, he's your client. Defense attorney accusing his client? That's a new one. I assure you, no one is more unhappy about this than I. But I'm here to defend him in the murder of Mr. Latouche. And I stand by my statement earlier that he is innocent of that particular crime. Indeed, the defendant is Virginian. He does meet the basic requirements to be the accomplice. But what if it was, in fact, Lamoureux? Couldn't have been. Well, you seem sure of yourself. The reason is electronic signals you're under. Electronic signals? Recall that this remote only works to a range of 30 feet. Beyond that, it's useless. Yes, that's true. Now think back to the testimony. When the shooter made his transmission, Lamoureux was in the air vent, right above the dressing room where the shooter stood. Let's look at the stage diagram. Yeah, it's going to be too far away. This is the area that the remote could reach from the vent. Well, looking at this, it seems that Lamoureux still could have done the deed. No. When the shooter made that transmission, the stage was slightly different than shown here. It was in the middle of the guitar's serenade, so that part in the back was raised up. Part of the stage was raised. Yep. Prosecutor Gavin and the Lamoureux stand-in were in the air. They were on a tower which happens to be 15 feet tall. In other words, the remote couldn't have worked from Lamoureux's position in the air vent. Ah. Well, Detective Crescent, what do you say to that? Your Honor. Yes, Detective? Can we see the video where Gavin's guitar burns? Just one more time. Well, I don't see why not. Don't tell me he has a way out of this. Haha. Too bad, so sad. Punk. Punk? First you were sleeves, then kid, now punk. You're losing rank fast, Apollo. Exactly what we're supposed to see in this video. The problem isn't in what we see, correct, Darian? Right, it's what you hear. We are musicians after all. Care to explain for us non-musicians? Sure thing, punk. Let me get your yarn straight first. You're saying I ordered the wee pianist to set off that igniter. That right? Yes. Well, in order to do that, he'd have to press a switch. Am I right? Okay. Yeah, because he's playing the piano at the time. Pay attention to the piano. Yeah. So, I think we need the, seems to be a problem there. Yeah, sounds just fine. Yeah, that's the problem. He's too busy playing the piano to press the switch. Exactly. You've got Miss Diva, the guitar, the bass, the piano, and the drums. The only one with her hands free was the Diva. But according to you, she couldn't have been an accomplice, could she? Your accomplice would have had a hard time helping out. They couldn't even press a switch. So, as someone who played the piano a lot at one time, you may not be aware of this, but playing the piano is trying to listen to see what exact notes were being played, but essentially he couldn't have pressed that switch. Yeah, he could have, because playing a piano is basically pressing a whole bunch of switches. Oh, Mr. Justice, the piano, yeah. I'll make mistakes sometimes. Not this time. Can't be wrong. Everything makes perfect sense. How could it all just... strange? What's so strange? No, it's just... something's odd about the performance there. Odd? Mr. Justice, if Machi Tabaya didn't press that switch, then he could not be the accomplice you claim he is. But everything points to it. Every fact says he's the accomplice. I think you got the facts wrong, man. Here are some facts for you. Gavin's guitar is on fire. The pianist didn't press that switch. In other words, your story is full of holes. Mr. Justice, let's hear your final opinion on this matter. Was the defendant Machi Tabaya the accomplice? Your answer will reflect on everything you've said here. Give it some thought. Paulo, Machi's not the accomplice. Our whole case is ruined. I know that. It has to be him. He's the only one who could have helped the smuggler. Yeah. So basically, when you press keys on a keyboard or a piano, what happens is there are hammers inside the piano that hit the strings that are inside the piano. So if he pressed a specific key where the switch was, yeah, he had to have pressed that switch. Well, you better find a way to prove it. There has to be something that doesn't fit. Something odd. Something odd. Wait a second. You thought of something? What was Gavin saying just now? It's just something's odd about the performance there. Yeah. Mr. Go on, that's all I've got. What exactly did he hear that was odd? If you come up with something, Mr. Justice. May I remind you that everything rests on this. Can you prove Machi Tabaya pressed that switch? Let's hear your final answer. I can prove it. I don't know if you call this proof per se, but I can prove it was possible. Then as prosecutor, it falls to me to ask you to show us evidence supporting this. Hair forehead, you sure about this? Ugh, accept it. There's no evidence, man. Gonna have to go back to this again. Basis for my claim is music, Your Honor. What about music? Let's listen to the piano part around the time when the switch was to be pressed, right before the guitar burst into flame. hear a piano being played, but they sound kind of simple. Simple. I think I know what he's suggesting. You think Machi could have played that part with one hand. Oh, I guess that's also possible. He only needed one hand to press that switch. He could play the piano with the other. Ah, what, so you're some kind of piano savant? Actually, no. What do you know? You can't play a part like that with one hand. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about here. Wait, I know. Hey, Trucy. Yeah? You got something? Mr. Wright, your father, he's a pianist. Could he... Oh, Daddy? He couldn't play a part like that even if he had 3 hands. Okay, so much for that idea. No, not really. Huh? That was just the easy way to prove it. There's always the hard way. Man, how are you going to prove whether he played it with one hand or 2? You can't. I admit, it will be rather difficult to prove, but it's highly likely he is playing with one hand. How do you know that? The clue is what Prosecutor Graham described as sounding odd. What sounded odd? I'll bet we can tell by listening to a certain part of the song. No, no way. Seems we've come to the moment of truth at last. Let's hear what Mr. Justice has to say for himself. Show us the part that proves the defendant was playing with one hand, right before the guitar burst into flame. One section of the song proves it. Yeah, there's like a part where I think it sounds like he's just playing like one note, I think. Okay, that's 2 hands. Oh. Right there.
Take that!
What? Beautiful song, and the lyrics are outstanding. Take that to mean there is a problem with this section at all. Wait, so what was the odd thing that Gavin heard? But I switched to press the first half of the second verse, right? I just need to find a place to compare to that. Playing wasn't just before the gun. Right there. Where he stops playing with the right hand for a second. Yeah, he's just playing.
Take that!
Maybe it's in the last part? No. Switch was pressed in the first half of the second verse. I just need to find a place to compare to that. So maybe I'm not actually looking for the part that's wrong? Maybe I'm supposed to... once stress shows the part that proves it. Okay, so maybe...
Take that!
maybe that part, since it's... Yeah. Okay, so they wanted to find the part where both hands were playing in the previous verse to show that only one hand was playing later on in the second verse. Okay, I was just confused by what they were looking for. I'm sure you've realized it yourself, Air Forehead. Realized what? I'll demonstrate. Let's listen to the part in question again, shall we? Pay particular attention to the buddy fleeting melody phrase. How many times do we have to listen to the same thing? You're right, enough of that. Let's listen to another section, shall we? The guitar burst into flame at the end of the second verse. Let's listen to the same spot in the first verse. Pay attention to Oh That Night in Your Embrace. Okay, so yeah, that's what they wanted, is to show that two hands were being played in the first section. Play verse 2 again? Yeah. They feel the same, true, but they're clearly very different. Yeah. Well put, Your Honor. The phrase in verse 2 is quite simple. The same phrase in verse 1 has high and low notes. You'd have to use two hands to play that for sure. What's that prove? I would think you'd know that by now. This is why I hate dealing with amateurs, man. See, I thought it would have been cooler if he had like one note that was like slightly off, but it's a note that doesn't get played the entire rest of the piece. But I guess this also works. So two verses in different arrangements. Happens all the time. Not this time, Darian. There's no point in changing an arrangement if you can't hear it clearly. And that wasn't the point. I had it placed specifically so the piano would stay in the background. That was what I noticed. Why should the same phrase sound slightly different, I asked myself. Now ask yourselves why Machi changed how he played, and there's only one answer. He needed a free hand in order to press the switch. I believe this ties all the facts together. Well, Prosecutor Gavin? Yes, quite. Though, personally, this comes as a terrible disappointment. What, no comeback? Can't believe it. I finally did it. I shut him up. Very well, barring an objection from the prosecution, I will now state the court's opinion on this matter. Good show, Sleeves. No, great show. It's not over. I don't like it when he looks so happy. You tell him, Gavin. Tell him what's so disappointing. Personally, I'm terribly disappointed. And you, Hair Forehead. Don't get me wrong, your case is solid. Facts all check out, but even now, you have yet to show us a single piece of decisive evidence. Yeah, but the facts, anyone can see it was him. Unfortunately, anyone does not include the law. I'm afraid your case doesn't cut it. But 1,000 facts might point toward the same conclusion, but without decisive evidence, it's not proof. That's the rule under our current legal system. I don't believe it. It does not seem as though the defense has any more evidence to present. Oh, I think if he did, we already would have seen it a long ways back. It is unfortunate, but at present, this court is unable to acknowledge your accusation. Truth is staring us all right in the face. Why can't they see it? What's the point of a legal system that protects criminals? Apollo, remember what Daddy said. Won't be easy proving you did it, especially not under the current court system. That's where too. Be aware that it will be impossible to prove his guilt by conventional methods. So, here's... It has an igniter inside it. Find Darian Crescent's igniter and set it off. I wonder what he meant by every man's igniter. I think he just meant a weak spot, no? The kind of thing that a single spark could turn into a wildfire of emotion. We'll be able to press it further by conventional means. We've got to find a weak spot in the sky, something fatal. So, can I get back to work now, or what? It may look like I got a lot of time on my hands, but I got no more time to play pretend with this deadweight attorney. Well, Mr. Justice, we've come this far without decisive evidence. This witness won't be coming back to the stand once we let him go. Every man has an igniter. Huh? Didn't you say the better the guitar, the brighter it burns, Prosecutor Gavin? Ah, yes, good guitars are kept dry is why. That provides the best sound. Even a small spark could cause irreparable damage. Your plan has an igniter in it too, Detective. It was there from the very beginning. What? Fighting time, Justice. If you blow this one, you'll be out of your hands for good. What, and this igniter's supposed to come burn me up? That's almost poetic there, Mr. Attorney. All the better, I'm rather fond of poetry, and I intend to hear this one through to the very end. Her forehead. You are accusing this man, Darian Crescent, of 2 crimes, the murder of Mr. Latouche and the smuggling of Borginian cocoon. This is your last chance to prove your case. The trial has already run on for far too long. Mr. Justice, this will be my last warning. The moment this igniter of yours turns out to be a dud is the moment this cross-examination ends. Understood? Yes, Your Honor. Then, let's have it. Show us the basis for these accusations against Darian Crescent. It's really my last chance. The key that will take apart Darien Crescent's plan is... So here's the thing. We could try calling this guy back up as a witness. But I don't know how that's gonna, like... How is that gonna, like, affect him? Like... I am not sure what the answer is here. Because Machi's never going to admit to being a smuggler's accomplice because he was like, no, I can't go back, because that's why he said he couldn't go back, because he knows if he goes back, he'll probably be executed. And if he's not a witness, I don't know who would be, so it has to be a piece of evidence. Evidence supporting your accusations against Darien Crescent. Feels like what we're looking for is a motivation for why Darien would do all of this. Like, what is the thing that triggered his involvement with this in the first place? No, it's not the keys. Exactly how am I supposed to react to that? Not flustered at all. I picked it up, yeah. Witness. Proving his guilt is a tall order, but I've got just the person to do it. I mean, I would think it's him. Okay, it is. Okay, it was him. Again. This is an accomplice of the cocoon smuggling plot. Without him, Darian Crescent could not have gotten the cocoon. Furthermore, he can easily prove that the one who plotted to smuggle that cocoon is the real criminal in this case. And so, it would require just one of the very cocoons Mr. Latouche was looking for. With the cooperation of the Republic of Virginia, we could burn a cocoon. Could leave particular residue we would no doubt also find inside the burnt out guitar. Very scientific of you. Thus, if Machi Tobaye acknowledges his agreement with Darian Crescent concerning the attempted smuggling of Borginian cocoon, the case is solved. Yeah, he's not going to admit to it. Your unrelenting passion is remarkable. You really want to get me, don't you? Too bad you'll never be able to. Why not? A little key tickler won't acknowledge anything, especially not anything to do with cocoon smuggling. Right. He would be executed. See? If our pianist really was a smuggler, then testifying about it would be suicide. Believe me, he's not talking. But you're wrong, Detective Crescent. What? It's the other way around. If Machi doesn't admit to smuggling here, he's in deep trouble. Huh? How? Look, if Machi admits to smuggling here, then he'll be tried in our courts by our laws. You don't get the death penalty for smuggling in our country. The victim in this case was an undercover Interpol agent. I'm sure that news has already reached Virginia, and they'll likely broadcast our dealings in court today, including the part about the Borginian cocoon. Yeah, but... Ah... If Machi doesn't admit to smuggling now, he'll eventually be picked up by the Borginian police. And it's not like he's in any danger in our court. We're not going to find him guilty of murder here, not now. Yeah, but you can't do this. You can't accuse me. Maybe the law doesn't allow it. But who's going to think you're really innocent after hearing this trial? The same goes for Machi Tobaye. Cocoon smuggling, your entire plan. Machi Tobaye knows everything. There's only one way out of it for him, and that's to acknowledge his own crime. The crime of cocoon smuggling. Heh. Don't worry there. I'll get you out of the country. I'll set you up someplace. A hidden mansion? Real nice. You want a house made out of cookies? Or no, a house made out of pianos? Come on. Please. Don't say... Wow. Don't talk. Darian, I consider that my last session with you. We rocked. I'm guessing we can treat that outburst as a confession? Uh-oh, he's laughing again. There's a kind of sick desperation in it now, though. have you been listening to today's trial? Yes. And you'll talk? You tell this court everything? I didn't want it to turn out this way, but I'm not the kind of lawyer that can overlook a crime. Today's trial was all for your benefit, you know. I see no reason why you should hesitate now. I knew, from the beginning I knew. Machi, situation I cannot explain, but money I needed. Very much money. Today's trial raises a delicate issue with our legal system. The only thing definite in a court of law is evidence. This is the golden rule, however. It has become apparent that not all things can be tried by the standard. Should another case of this sort surface, we may have to consider an alternate system by which to administer justice. Anyway, Mr. Machi Tabaye, yes? I promise you will receive a fair trial by the laws of our country, and with regards to the current charges for the murder of Latouche, this court is prepared to announce a verdict. I thank you. I only lie, but you see truth, you find truth. That's our job. Very well. This court finds the defendant Machi Tabaye not guilty. Court is adjourned. Wonder what'll happen to Machi. Well, he did smuggle a cocoon out of Virginia. I guess there'll be another trial here. All's well that ends well. Danny, I owe you both my thanks. Lammeror? My, is something wrong? I'm sorry, Machi was your partner on stage, your friend. Yes, I thought of him as my own son. Even now I do, yet something got a hold of him, something evil. I see that. And he must pay for what he has done. Is that not how it should be? I'm still sorry. Do not be sorry. You have given me courage. Courage? I'm considering an eye operation. It was my suggestion, actually. You mean you'll be able to see again? It's funny. I've always been afraid of the light. Light seems so harsh, so unforgiving. According to the doctor, Lammeror lost her sight due to some kind of accident. An accident? As you know, I suffer from amnesia. I feared that if I could see, perhaps it would open my eyes to the truth I've been running from. I was scared. You know what changed her mind? Hearing your defense in there today. She could feel your gaze, unwavering, always looking straight at the truth. The light returns to my eyes. I think I will take up painting. Painting? That's right, she's the landscape painter in sound after all. Well, now she can be the landscape painter in painting. I'll paint the two of you, I promise. Aw. That's nice. Owe you my thanks too, Apollo. Thanks, Mr. Wright, but for what? You reminded me I need to hurry things along. On my secret mission, that is. Right, your secret mission. Apollo, Trucy, I hope that we will meet again someday soon. You bet, me too. And so, like a ballad, the trial flowed on and on until it came to the end. Thanks to the trial, the guitar serenade was a huge hit. Prosecutor Gavin's even more dazzling to look at now, but there's something I want to say to that guy. Next time you're at a ballad, have them catch the killer at the end. That's a good end. It was interesting. It was definitely an unconventional method, but I was wondering if he was going to have to do something like what Phoenix did in the first case, but it seems like that wasn't the case. So that was a pretty good wrap up for that trial. Anyways, that is going to be it. I'm going to wrap up for tonight. It actually ended up being a bit longer than I expected, but that's okay. We got through it. Next time we will start in on episode 4. So I don't know if it'll be tomorrow or maybe the weekend. We'll have to see. Schedule's gonna be a little rough, but we'll figure it out. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed the stream, and I'll catch you next time.